Hi, I'm Scott and welcome to CAMPTERRA. Now on today's video, a lot of the things that I'm going to be doing here today, I'm going to be reading from my website. And I know that can be monotonous at times. You know, people are saying, well, you have a website, you know, why make a video about it? Well, in this ever-changing landscape of social media, YouTube is massive. There's tons of creators that have like-minded niche channels. It is hard to reach your target audience. So although I have a website for it, I thought I'd do a companion YouTube video based off the topic here today, and that is, what is CAMPTERRA Wild Camp Services? In hopes that I can bridge the gap in reaching a broader audience. So just like we said, usually like most really good YouTube creators, things are scripted and well thought out. I tend to do better off the cuff with some visual aids and having my key points ready and just going from there. I tend to ramble a bit, but I'm going to try to keep that under control today. So without further ado, let's get into a subcategory of CAMPTERRA. CAMPTERRA YouTube channel is all about my efforts and my hobby of bushcrafting, going out and wild camping, otherwise known as dispersed camping. And that is everything, you're self-reliant. Everything you need is on your back. You hump in, you camp, you hump out and leave no trace. I'm really intrigued with it. I really enjoy it. I'm an outdoors guy, have been since 4 or 5 years old, since my dad first took me duck hunting in southeast Louisiana. I made my undergraduate schooling was in forestry management at LSU. I got a bachelor's of science in that. And then my day job, I am a geospatial analyst for a construction, architectural, engineering firm here in the greater New Orleans area. So that's a little bit of my background. I'm into all kind of things. I have an entrepreneurial spirit, have lots of ideas. Why am I doing this? Well, no, I'm not here to get rich. I'm not here, let's say, per se, to have a ton of tutorials. I'm not an expert bushcrafter. I'm not an expert wilderness survival guy. I'm not an expert outfitter. I'm not an expert woodsman. But what I do have is bits and pieces, a lot of all of those aspects. And I enjoy being out there, and I'm learning. So really and truly, CAMPTERRA YouTube channel is about reaching folks as well, like-minded folks, so I can network with somewhat locally here in the South, because most of these bushcrafting channels, there's a ton across the pond in Europe, and there's many of them here. Joe Robinette, Jeremy from Lone Wolf 902 is really great. I watch his channel, and so on and so on and so on. These people are what I consider to be both experts at their craft, as well as experts at being creative geniuses at shooting their videos, posing their shots. And you know, I dabble both in videography and photography as well. I also used to be, you can see right here, these are my outdoor videography certificates, level 1 and 2, that I got from Rusted Rooster in Michigan way back in the day. I used to shoot, I was a contract field producer, which is a glorified term for being a cameraman. So I I was able to shoot video for the Sportsman channel, the Pursuit channel. Some of the shows that I shot for were the Bucket List, as well as the Honey Break Experience, which is a huge duck hunting outfitter here in southeast Louisiana. So getting off on a tangent, let's get back to that's a little bit about myself. So I am going to read some from the website just because, you know, it keeps me grounded from rambling on. And what I just said primarily was what CAMPTERRA YouTube channel really is about. Me going out, experiencing the woods, enjoying it, making the mistakes, figuring out how to shoot and angle my shots, all while trying to bushcraft, do a few things out there. I usually go out there to have a few tasks or try some gear. I take it slow paced, and YouTube is a way for me to educate myself and document these outings, really for myself too. So, but what I want to talk to you, the focus of the video here today is CAMPTERRA's subcategory called Wild Camp Services, W.C.S. So CAMPTERRA is dedicated to getting back and enjoying our wild places amongst the backwoods, hollers, and vanishing hardwoods. It could be chasing wild turkey and photographing whitetail deer. We could be kayaking in a pristine Bottomland Bayou, hiking uncharted territory. It all starts with a plan. So let's learn how CAMPTERRA Wild Camp Services can help you get outside and recharge. And that generally explains it in the nutshell, this service. And I know a lot of you, when I'm gonna get to the nuts and bolts of what CAMPTERRA Wild Camp Services is about, you'll say, well, man, that's easy. Anybody can do it. I mean, that's what I do, you know, before I go out. You know, I do that all the time. Well, do you realize, you may not realize that what you do to prepare for going on a wild camp, a dispersed camp, is so ingrained in your mind that that planning itself is totally and completely intimidating and could be ignorant to many people out there who want to start doing it. You know, they've tent camped, let's say, you know, they used an RV or a pop-up or something like that. They're intrigued about bushcraft, they're intrigued about wild camping, getting away from the crowds, getting some solitude, finding that perfect spot where you really enjoy yourself back in the woods. And they just don't know how to go about doing it. You know, yeah, you know, I just go out in the woods. No, there's a lot more to it than that, and we're going to go through some of that here today. So let's go to these services. And you know, this is nothing, it has nothing to do with money. I'm not charging anything at this time. You know, could this snowball into something? Possibly, but you know, I really doubt it right now. So if you're interested in anything that I discuss here today, or you're looking for some help or some aid, I would recommend that you go to CAMPTERRA.us. Okay, that's where I'm going to be reading a lot of this information from. And just contact me. My email is in the About section of the YouTube channel page. Information is on the CAMPTERRA.us website as well. If you want to drop me a line and chat, please have at it. I mentioned earlier that most of all these really more established, higher end count bushcraft, wild camp, YouTube guys and gals, you know, there's someplace else. It seems like the South always gets, you know, a bad rap, the South. There's only one other guy that I'm aware of, and that's Paleo Hiker MD. He's located in central Louisiana, and I love his channel. He's got great how-tos. He loves stoves and things like that. Check him out. But you know, I'd like to see many of these bushcraft videos that I watch on a day-to-day basis. I want to see them here in the South. I want to see guys and gals going out into the South and doing some of the same things. Another good Southern bushcrafter guy is Blackie Thomas. He's been around a long time. I love watching his videos. He's got great little short snippets and how-tos. I watch him a great deal. So, you know, we talked about what wild camping is. And this is the term that I've come up with, the actual term itself. It is a term that's given to dry or primitive camping in an unestablished and or designated wilderness site without a fee while utilizing minimal or self-sustaining gear, preferably a tent, tarp, hammock, or bivvy shelter, while leaving no trace upon exiting. I mean, that is wild camping in the nutshell, right? Leave no trace is a big deal. Wild camping is all about self-sustainability. So many considerations and thoughts develop into the choice, the plan, and the formation of wild camping as a whole. And for many seasoned and veteran wild campers, you know, they understand that Mother Nature can be extremely beautiful, but also know that she is very unforgiving and can change in a blink of an eye. Okay? Thus, they prepare accordingly for that challenge. And, you know, we talked about this. Social media personalities make this sort of planning and execution look all too easy. But the question I pose is, have you tried it? Why not try it? It may not be as hard as you think. So enter in CAMPTERRA'S Wild Camp Services. Okay? So the way I go about this is, think of me as a professional consultant or a project manager, planning and preparing your next wild camp adventure. Well, why am I somebody that's so great at doing all this? I'm not outstandingly great at doing all this, but I've been doing it for about 3 to 4 years now, and you know, I've come up with what I think is a really good workflow in pinpointing specific, aesthetically pleasing, and abundant resource available wild camp spots in Southeast, well, really Louisiana and Mississippi. That's where I do the majority of my wild camp recreating. It's no secret, I love the Homechita National Forest. I have spots there, the Kisatchie National Forest as well, and I'm looking to expand over to the DeSoto National Forest and start exploring there as well, okay? So, just like I said before, let's face it, many that are new to wild camping can be intimidated by being completely self-sufficient, gear illiterate, or maybe they just might have a problem with being alone in the woods, or overwhelmed with what's needed and where to start. And or anyone who's experienced in wild camping, they may just want a new change of scene. I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, wild camping is finding that perfect spot that you deem to be pleasing to your eye, have the abundant resources there for you to use. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But whether you're a veteran and you don't need help finding a wild camp area, Wild Camp Services from CAMPTERRA is still beneficial because I can put you into places for you to go explore and have a great spot. Many of these places, I'd say I have about a dozen spots in the Homechita that are really awesome, and I can send you to go try out. I mean, I don't know anybody else who's doing that, where you know, I've actually done the legwork, been in the woods, lined out how to get there as far as mapping, having those points and whatnot, and getting in and out, and having the spot actually be a really nice place to camp, you know. So like I said, I offer both new and veteran outdoor enthusiasts valuable information, guidance, and solutions to getting started in or the choosing of great wild camping sites, and all the planning that goes into that endeavor. My goal is getting folks, I want to get you folks into, if you're first starting, or back out if you're someone who, you know, used to do it and is just kind of on the fence, and I got to spend a lot of money, blah, blah, blah. I want to get you back out into the outdoors. I have a long, drawn-out story that I may go over and include in one of my playlists, which is called Brain Droppings, where I just chat and ramble, which is one of my favorite things to do. And that topic will be how the outdoors really saved my life from severe depression after a divorce. Leave me a comment and let me know if you're interested in hearing that rambling, and maybe that'll give me some inspiration to wanting to do that. So our goal is to getting new folks into or people back out into the outdoors while peacefully enjoying the solitary adventure in a safe and lawful manner, right? Wild Camp Services can be a stress-free option, as well as a detailed course of action or a prescription on just how to attack the planning, prepping stages of your next outdoor adventure. Okay? So let's briefly discuss some realistic considerations, aspects, thoughts that develop into planning or preparing for an outdoor adventure involving wild camping. And I will have a side note here. If you're someone who has been hunting, fishing, is not stranger to the outdoors, that's very beneficial to helping you getting started or back into. I mean, that just goes without saying. But if you're not, if you're totally green, you know, there's nothing wrong with that either, right? So some of the questions that we may ask ourselves when we're trying to plan these sort of things, if you're someone new, am I physically and mentally fit enough to wild camp? And this is a big one, okay? Be realistic with yourself. If you scare easy, you have a pre-existing health condition, or lack basic survival skills, all this and possibly more will greatly hinder or prevent you from fully enjoying your trip outdoors. But it can be overcome. Please take all of these precautions when planning a trip. Confidence in your success. That's your knowledge, skills, and abilities. It's called the KSAs. These things will give you confidence, okay? Where do I want to wild camp, right? So in this step, it's like we will research where and when people can camp free of charge in the wild. Research, study, and understand the rules, the regulations associated with wild camping in the area you plan to stay or explore. Having private lands to utilize is a great benefit as well, but planning is still paramount for any location you are familiar or unfamiliar with. Very true, okay? So the next one is a biggie, and it can go deep, or, you know, it can be basic. And this is just a basic. And that is, what will I need for wild camping? So I will refer everybody to the basic and the essentials, which is the five C's of survivability, which include a cutting tool, a combustion device, your cover, which is your shelter, a container for water, and cordage, your 5 C's, okay? It gets very deep. There's the 10 C's, there's a bunch of different things. If you'd like to get in depth more about that, perhaps I'll do another video. But check out Blackie Thomas or Dave Cannonberry's YouTube channel. He goes into depth on all of those things if you want to check out the 5 C's, right? And part of that service is what you will need to survive in the outdoors for an extended period of time. Also, you may need a daily permit of some kind on your person from any hosting lands. I will check with the appropriate office and officials on what you will need. That's part of CAMPTERRA'S Wild Camp Services. Okay, the next one is, do I have a safe and adequate transportation to and from your wild camp locale? This is a huge one, and people overlook this all the time. Well, how do you get there? I mean, you are relying, I mean, it seems common sense, I get it, but you know, people are busy, you know, they get bogged down. There's so many things we got to do in today's fast-paced society. Making sure that you do routine automotive transportation and maintenance is necessary on your vehicle. That vehicle, many times you may find yourself needing to use your vehicle to retreat to if you're out wild camping for safety, or if it's some sort of natural rainstorm, snow, blizzard that's unexpected. You may want to leave your wild camp and go get in your vehicle and hunker down there, right? You need to provide yourself an out. That's the biggest thing. Should you need aid or safety, right? Your vehicle can and will save your life if needed. The next one is, once I arrive at my location, where exactly do I go camp? Now, I'm going to pose a ton of questions here, and you may say to yourself, well, you know, that's, I mean, it's easy. I'm just going to pick this area and find a place to park, and I'm just going to walk down this trail, and then I'm going to find a spot. It can be that easy, right? I mean, it really can. But start thinking about it. If you put some time and effort into thinking about it, you'll find that these questions I'm about to pose are pretty thought-invoking, okay? So there are many facets of planning to go into this question, and you may or will be, it will be different for everyone. So here's some of those questions. What is your outdoor skill level, right? What is your health level? We said that earlier. How remote do you want to be? Do you want to be deep off the grid? Or, you know, you don't want to be too far away from your parking area, but still far away that you won't see people constantly coming down the trail or maybe using the camp spot that you have, right? Do you know where you can wild camp legally and what the rules are to pertaining to it? Many people have no clue. And that's one of the very loose bits of information that I've been researching is, it seems many federal, state lands have different rules. Each area, each federal, state land, whether it's national forests, BLM land, wildlife management areas, conservation areas, Fish and Wildlife Service areas, all of these entities have different rules when it comes to dispersed or wild camping, and you know, you got to know those rules before you go in. At CAMPTERRA Wild Camp Services, that's one of the things that we do for you, right? So some additional questions. Do you know where you can camp legally and what the rules are? We just said that. What is the duration of my stay? Am I going for one night? Am I going for 2, 3 days? Okay. All of that is going to add to your needs, right? Being out there. Are you prepared for weather changes? How do I actually get to this spot? Is there cell service available? How far of a hike will it be? How far is the nearest town or civilization from my general AOI, area of interest? You'll hear me say AOI a lot. That's a mapping term. What happens if I do get lost? Does someone else know where I'm located at if I don't show back up? And there's so many more questions. Those are just a few, right? In this day and age, it's pertinent to answer those questions before we leave and go out. You know, your life matters. People may be depending on you. I'm a single dad of 2. My son is 14. My younger daughter is 12. They rely on me. I've got to come back. So I take all that very seriously. So the list goes on and on for these questions, right? It takes time, patience, planning, motivation, and persistence, mental, physical prowess, and finally execution to be successful at going out and wild camping. Wild Camp Services from CAMPTERRA will kind of help you along, or I think they will. You should give it a try, okay? So now we're getting to the section, what does CAMPTERRA Wild Camp Services offer? So we said it's like a consulting service or a project manager for helping you get back into, or if you're just starting out. Now you can go to my website and read a lot of this. I'm not going to go into, I've broken it out into tiers, right? So a tier 1 service from CAMPTERRA, you will get wild camp consulting and planning solution services. You'll get a detailed report. It's a PDF report on weather, driving directions to and from, contacts from emergency contacts, nearest hotels, hospitals, medical stores, hosting land information, and you will also get a basic area of interest for you to go explore, because I've been there, for your next wild camp spot. And that comes in the form of the coordinates. And you may say, well, you know what, that's not easy, just getting those coordinates. I'm not going to spend the time. Well, it's all links in the PDF. You click on the coordinates, it'll bring you to Google Maps, and you'll see that general area of interest where you can go camp, right? And generally, all you really need is a mobile device. You don't even need service. You can do offline maps, which we'll get into. I'm getting ahead of myself. But having those points, you can navigate to. And I do a general area. It doesn't have to be a pinpoint spot, right? But I do offer that as well. So you will get that basic area of interest for your next wild camp. Every report that I send out will have wild camp gear recommendations that follow the 5 C's of survivability. You'll get backpacking, bushcrafting gear, and safety checklist. You could print out the PDF, and if you're someone new, you can literally just go off and check these boxes of all the gear to make sure you have the 5 C's of survivability out there, right? Which is a neat little thing. And then you'll also have in the report, you'll have maps. Wild camp maps is what I call them. It's a general map that leaves off where your driving directions will get you to a parking spot, and then the wild camp map will have you on foot with a point on the wild camp area of interest, and then from there, man, you break out your compass. I give you the bearings, I give you the coordinates, and just have fun. Go find it. Go find that spot. Enjoy yourself, because I've been there and they're awesome spots. Every wild camp spot that I've been to, it's just a place you'd want to be. When I've showed other hikers and primitive campers, they say, man, where is that place? I cannot believe that's in the Homachita National Forest. Is this in the primitive area? And I'm like, no, this is just back in the woods. I just find them by going to explore. And they want to go, you know. So that was part of the reason to do these Wild Camp Service reports too as well. So that's in a Tier 1 service. A Tier 2 service is everything in Tier 1, but I give you the precise wild camp location data. That means in Tier 1 you just get the PDF report with links on it and all the information. Plus, if you want to see a sample of this report and download it and just look at it, head on over to CAMPTERRA.us and go to the services section, the media section on the website, and you can view it right there, or you can download it, print it out, and just read through it and see what it's all about, right? So the Tier 2 service offers that same report, but I will send you the actual location data, the coordinates, and that'll be in for people who are a little bit more versed in the backcountry or who use GPS devices. You can use what's called a GPX file or even a KMZ or KML to import into various GPS units, apps, software like Google Earth and whatnot. So I'll send you those, and you can plan yourself and see them and all that good stuff, right? And you will also the map that I have with the, oh, I'm jumping ahead of myself, right? So that's Tier 2 services. Tier 3 services will include the report with the links and all that information. The Tier 2 service is I will send you the GPX and the KML files of a more precise location spot. And for Tier 3, this is pretty serious. There's a lot that goes into this and a lot of researching that I've done, and here's where my background as being a professional cartographer and mapper in my day-to-day job comes into this. You will get a customized iOS, Android, and Windows mobile digital GIS map and app solution from CAMPTERRA Wild Camp Services that will already have these points embedded into it. All you got to do is load the software on your Windows computer or download the app and then load the map that I send you into that, right? And this is awesome because I've done all the legwork for you. It's going to have the precise location of the wild camp there. It's going to have features such as roads, water, points of interest like trailheads, hiking trails. That's all included. The map and the app includes navigation, just like a GPS unit, and this is primarily going to be used with a mobile device such as your phone. It includes the navigation and offline capability, so you won't need any cell service. You will also receive that detailed map app how-to instructions. So I've went through and built like a small get you started how to use this app, whether it's on Windows or it's on your cell phone or your mobile device. This is for people who are really nerdy, who really want to get into their backcountry exploration, who really enjoy using technology in the woods, on the trails, off the trails. If you're someone like that, I guarantee you what I have is pretty cool. Now, you could always use a service like Onyx Maps, Base Maps, All Trails, you know, all those are great too. But it's just something that I've come up with because I'm a mapping nerd, right? And then those were the 3 tiers, right? Then I have a personalized general consultation, and that is, it's an online Zoom or Google Meet face-to-face consultation using online video conferencing platforms to where we can really discuss face-to-face what your needs are, your knowledge, skills, and ability level. It's really a wild camp presentations and your questions answered. If you're someone who just says, you know what, man, I just want to talk to you. And yeah, we could do it over the phone, that's fine. But I do it this way because I will record it and then I'll email it. I'll email you the recording. I have ways of sending big video files to folks. And then you'll always have it, so you're not like having to take notes and rushing and not thinking, okay? So the next, and that's part of an a la carte, personalized general consultation. The next one is a customized mapping GIS consultation and service. What's that? So this goes along with, you know, the tier 3 services of wanting to be really technically advanced a little bit and wanting to fool with geographic files and putting them on your mobile device and navigating to them. If you're someone who really loves that and you want to document and start archiving all of your points and building a literal wild camp database of all your hikes, your points you find, things of that nature, the a la carte customized mapping and GIS consultation service, that's for you, okay? And you can read a little bit more about that because this video is, I see it's gonna be pretty long and I don't want it to be. And then the last one is, I would love to meet like-minded folks that are in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, East Texas, Arkansas, people from the South, which you don't have to be from the South. It's just, I know someone from out West is not going to come all the way to the South to want to do this next choice that Wild Camp Services from CAMPTERRA offers. And that choice is, look, a personalized CAMPTERRA Wild Camp Services overnight, kind of like a guided camp. And what that is it's a simple novice-based overnight wild camping trip with me and maybe a buddy to my private Southwest Mississippi backwoods grounds. I have a real good friend in Southwest Mississippi. He doesn't, it's about 200 acres that he's got up there, and it's just outstanding to have a private area just to go explore and hone my skills, to get away quickly, to recharge my batteries, as I call it. But let's meet up, let's build a networking relationship, and I'll take you back to this area. It's a great opportunity to test your skills, you know, to ping me for consulting and how to, not necessarily on bushcrafting, survival. I'm not an expert at that, but how I find these wild camp services, what I do when I'm out there, how I enjoy those areas. Again, for most people that may sound like, oh, it's common sense. And for many folks it is, but they don't realize how long they've been doing it, how good they are at it. There's many people out there who want to just get started, right? And that's what this would be for. I know we build, and that starts by emailing, contacting me, instant messaging, chatting. I have a real good friend that I've met. We've probably been chatting for about 3 or 4 months. His name is Will, and he's from Southeast Louisiana, and we've been chatting, and we've both felt each other out somewhat, and you know, we both realize we're not some axe murderer or you know, nut jobs to go be off in the woods with. And we've built a bit of a friendship, and I think that's great. I think we all need to network and have and meet new people, because I am a recluse. I'm a lone wolf, recluse kind of guy. You know, I may have 3, 4, 5 real good friends. That's about it. The rest of them are acquaintances or people from work, you know. But that overnight guided camp type deal, you know, we can just chat about all kinds of things. And it builds confidence in your self-reliance abilities to get out there into the outdoors, where you may have said, you know what, I am not going out there alone. I've got a guy that contacted me recently, and he is starved. He wants to go out. He wants to go do things. He's looking for folks to go do stuff with, right? But he is completely against going out there alone. I mean, he's afraid. He's basically afraid and intimidated by it. You don't have to be, okay? So let's move on a little bit. I've already talked about this. You can read, there's a section on how CAMPTERRA Wild Camp Services differs from traditional bushcraft, survival, and preparedness-based services, right? CAMPTERRA Wild Camp Services offers you a peace of mind, a stress-free planning solution for wild camp operations, as well as a place to start preparing for that wild camp adventure. I am not a survival training expert. We are not licensed guides. We are not masters of bushcraft. We are not experienced doomsday preppers, yet we do possess experienced skill levels in all four of those genres. We are an informative, advising, preparation, peace of mind, consulting service entity who will assist, prepare, consult, and submit lawful and remote wild camp solutions that will meet or exceed your expectations while being outdoors. That was a mouthful. So, and this is just a general clip I put in on the website. And if you would choose to contact me for CAMPTERRA Wild Camp Services, you know, I assume a few things about you. You are healthy enough individual capable of making rational self and common sense decisions, judgments based on your individual outdoor and mental skills, who requires the consultation on the facets of outdoor sustainability for prolonged recreation purposes to ensure satisfying, stress-free, and remote soul-boosting adventure. That's a mouthful too, written by yours truly. But what that's saying is, hey, you've got the common sense to realize, look, I'm a big guy, you know, I can't go far. I'm in shape, but, you know, mentally I can't get over the fact that, you know, I'm going to be alone. You know, you need to have certain common sense with doing all these things. We also hope that and you will, or you can obtain the least minimal enough gear to meet those essential 5 C's of survivability. The cutting tool, knife, saw, axe, hatchet, a combustion device, that's about fire starting, right? A cover that you'll need, a tent, a tarp, hammock, bivvy, you know, you have some sort of shelter. And the container, water, food, backpack, cordage, bank line, paracord, you have these 5 C's, or you can obtain them. Also, the third one is you have a well-functioning, maintained mode of transportation to and from your wild place. I talked about that earlier. That's a big deal. You have adequate computing and mobile device experience and skills that you can get online, open an email, download the Wild Camp Services PDF report, print it out if you want to, put it on your cell phone. I know we assume that you can do these things. Also, the last one, you have emergency contacts set in place should you not return from your wild camp adventure. And another great aspect of having this report that I make for you, all you got to do is forward that email with the report in it to your loved one, your best friend, anyone who's going to need all that crucial information should you not come back. They're going to have a place to look, to start out. Okay, that's very important. A lot of people use those Garmin's in reach. that is a great tool. But you know, they're $200, $300, $400. And you know, a lot of people, by the time they set up all their gear, you know, I would recommend something like that if you're going out for a 3 to 7 day or weeks long adventure, very remote and deep into the backcountry. But for what CAMPTERRA Wild Camp Services is all about is to get you started. You know, we're never going to send you someplace where you got to hike 10, 20 miles. I think the majority of lengths that I have to get to places is anywhere from, you know, 1 to 5 miles of hiking. I mean, that's doable. And that's basically it. That is CAMPTERRA Wild Camp Services in the nutshell. Like I said, you can get the CAMPTERRA.us and go check out much of what I've just said here. We have that services page. We have a media page where I've got, you know, photos, and most importantly, I have a sample Wild Camp Services Tier 1 PDF report for you to view right there, or to download, print out, and just see exactly what you get in that report. I think if you see it for yourself, you'll say, you know what, man, that's a pretty good idea. You know, yeah, I could do this, but I'm going to tell you, it took time to build this PDF report, and people don't have time. People skimp because time is precious. Excuse me. We're all busy. So I will take that and do it for you. So go check out the Tier 1 report. I also have links to my YouTube videos, some images. Excuse me, talking like this is not my forte. I have a basic tools page, you know, with my gear that I use, photo, video, my protection and self-defense. I have an Amazon link for new people who are looking to just get started with some of the gear that I recommend that will follow those 5 C's of cover, combustion, container, cutting, and cordage. That link will have all that basic information and gear right there. You could literally order all that stuff and get started. You don't have to. I'm just saying, if you needed a place to start, that Amazon link could help you get started. Also, I'd like to say that I am certified in AED first aid CPR training. I just recently got it because I felt like if I was going to be doing like a semi-guided thing with anybody, I needed to get that. So I do have that. I also have an about contact section, about me, if you'd like to know a little bit more about me, the things that I enjoy, you know, my professional background, school background. I literally put my resume out there too, so you can see a lot of that information. And then also I have my CAMPTERRA email, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook links there as well. I have rambled long enough. I hope you guys are still with me. If not, that's cool. If yes, awesome. Thank you. Please hit that like and subscribe. That helps me. I'm a budding bushcrafting South Louisiana channel on YouTube that's wanting to get more followers, wanting to get local folks involved in the outdoors. I want to network with you guys. Just don't have anybody just to pick up the phone and chat with. Like I said, my good friend Will, man, we bounce stuff off one another, and it's really fun. It's really fun to have a like-minded buddy, you know, to talk with. What are you doing? How do you do this? What gear is this? Hey man, and you're building a really cool relationship. You may become real good friends. I mean, I think it's a win-win situation. I never would have met Will if I wouldn't have done a YouTube channel, right? So that's me in the nutshell. I am Scott. You are watching the CAMPTERRA YouTube channel. We appreciate your time, and check back with us later. I have a video where I did how to pick a wild camp area of interest. I'm probably going to redo that video because it's old and long-winded and I want to change a lot of things, but that's coming as well. I'm going to have some tips and tricks on how you can use what I call cyber scouting to go out and find some of these aesthetically pleasing short distance wild camp spots here in the South. So thanks again. Have a great day or night, and we'll be back soon enough. Bye.